Welcome to the Lighthouse Experiment, a Freedom Center Church podcast. Well, I'm excited. This is going to be good. I'm always up for some pop questions, discussion questions. It's going to be good. Well, welcome back to the Lighthouse Experiment Podcast. This week, I'm joining you from Fort Myers, Florida, and Chaplain Jim Parkin from Grand Blanc, Michigan.
You know it. The one, the only G Bizzle, Grand Blanc. Dude, it's been hot, man, here.
So my AccuWeather gave me a warning, the heat advisory warning. I screenshotted it, sent it to Lisa, and was like, it's kind of like we're in the same place.
Dude, we got this pool going, which is good because it's been super hot.
That's good, yeah.
Good thing with a new company is that we get to wear t-shirts.
Oh, geez.
Our pants aren't polyester and our t-shirts are t-shirts. What?
That's good.
So nice.
Does it still feel weird, or do you feel like you've acclimated a little bit more into
Oh, man, I love it. It's
so
good. It's so good. And I'm going to announce this. I'll tell our listeners and stuff now, but at staff meeting on Tuesday, I'm just going to fully put it out there. I've been talking to Pastor Carl. And the Lighthouse Experiment is going to do, as Pastor Jim was saying, an experiment for a season. And I'm going to invest all of our focus right on MMR.
Cool.
Just because of the full support and do the thing.
That's awesome.
Do the thing. No one else is doing this. We'd be so out in front of all of it. Do
That's really exciting.
Whatever. So
Yay.
We have a couple of dudes that are hey, I want to check you guys out on Mondays.
Okay.
And they're can't be every Monday because of the work schedule. Come every other Monday. It'll be sick.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, super stoked on that.
Yes.
So that's what we got, And then we're making burritos for 4th of July breakfast.
Yes.
Me and Dan, we're going to make 50 or something burritos on la plancha. I'm going to set up the Americans know it as a Blackstone flat top, but It is a plancha, which means the same thing, just Spanish. But it's going to be super cool. We have all of our snacks and stuff from Explore Camp. I went and picked those up yesterday.
Well, I wanted to ask you how much was collected. That's amazing.
Dude, we have so much snacks, but also some people went outside the lines, which is funny. Well, so check this out. So we got canned goods and stuff for meal prep, like seasonings and all kinds of other it's kind of wacky.
Maybe for the fire department.
The deal with snacks. Exactly right. So what we're going to do is figure out and set up we can build a meal, put it in a basket and take it to Flint Fire or Nakva or whatever, and it'll be cool. So we got all kinds of stuff going on.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So we'll jump right in because I'm pretty stoked on tonight's episode. So I had posted earlier in the week, right? Was that this week? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a couple days ago. Yeah.
Who knows? The days all mix. One of my favorite movies is called The Hurt Locker. Jeremy Renner is in it. And he is a bomb guy, demolition specialist. And their gig in Afghanistan and Iraq was to find IEDs. They would go out, put the bomb suit on and either defuse it or they had means of detonating it in place.
Okay.
So in this movie, that's his gig. And he's really good. He's fully invested. He's does this deployment. So the entirety of the movie is this deployment that he's on. And then it shows him at home. And it's this situation where he's living with his ex-wife, but they have a child together. So he's there for the kid. But then there's what I had posted is a picture from this grocery store scene. and they're shopping, and she's like, hey, I'm going to go to the checkout. Will you go grab some cereal? And it kind of pans out, and he's like right in the middle of the cereal aisle, and he's just like overwhelmed by cereal. And like I posted in the thing, I kind of wrote, like, after all these years, like, I can relate. I have been standing there staring at an endless sea of juice boxes when really the move is just to grab one and bounce. But like, you're looking at them all like, I can't really solve this riddle right now.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have in my career saved people. I have algorithms memorized, like, that I can just do on reflex. I can intubate, IV, all the things. But then to have those moments where you're standing there looking at like 100 different varieties of Rice Krispie, going like, what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to pick up here?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do tonight, based kind of off that, I also requested some of our friends to go ahead and ask some questions. So we have some fun questions and some serious questions. So what I decided we'd do is start with the fun ones. So we're going to hit those up. The first one I asked myself because like no one was responding. So this was my example question: was burritos breakfast or regular? The breakfast burrito is the most perfect meal ever created. Because what they'll do, man, like I had one this morning: eggs, bacon, guac, hash browns, all contained in a nice, neat, portable, shell. It's perfect.
No, that's awesome. So there's a place in Tucson called Nico's Tacos, and there was 2 locations. And when Nick and I lived there years ago, once in a while we would make our way out of, like, it was 15 minutes away, but we'd go get Nico's Tacos, and every once in a while I would grab everybody's orders from the accounting department and bring them in the morning.
Yes.
And so breakfast burritos remind me of Tucson. So good, dude. It was so good. But we don't often make them at home because I don't feel like I get the tortilla right. So what type of tortilla do you use when you...
Do you use, like... You got to use like the biggest,
okay,
just so it contains all the stuff. You don't like have to fill it. So you don't want like, dude, nobody wants a Qdoba burrito. That's ridiculous. But like, right. But I like to use the bigger shell, and then you do the eggs, the bacon, hash browns. Like when we make them for MMR, we'll get the big shell. It'll be like eggs, bacon, or eggs and sausage, or I'm going to do a vegan variety because we have some vegans.
Okay.
But then, so it's the eggs and the cheese, and then the hash browns. You take like a McDonald's style one. Like you can pick those guys up at Gordon's or at Sam's or Walmart.
Okay.
So then you just cut them the long way, put it in there, and just roll it. Fold the ends, roll it up.
Right. So do you like, sometimes I feel like so if you get them hot and you wrap them up with something, you just let them...
Yeah, we have, because Carrie Parkin's smarter than us. So we have like the individual kind of aluminum foils, like for wrapping hot dogs.
Yes. Okay.
See? And then, so what you do too, when you fill a burrito, you don't center mass it. You don't put it like a taco. So you got your shell and you put it closer to you, the stuff, and then it rolls up better. See what I mean?
Okay. Now, however,
or if you do center it, you can grab it, take that half of tortilla, and pull it in, and then roll it.
That makes
Fold
sense
the ends, roll it up. Okay.
I will say though, I love French toast and sausage is one of my favorite. But I love bacon. I love every breakfast food. So
you know what's really good?
Pick and choose is hard for me.
If you go to, like, we got these for Zoe a couple years ago. But it's this little teeny tiny like waffle griddle thing she has. It's just like a little, about the size of a bun, right? So you make the waffles and do some scrambled eggs, put that on there. It's best. I don't like if you use like kielbasa or smoked sausage, you put a few of those on and some cheese and you put it between the waffle. Delicious.
That sounds good.
Dude, you know I'm thick. I have all kinds of good recipes. All right. Okay. So our next question, and this is from Jeff Babcock. He's one of our supervisors. And Jeff asked, what is the best WrestleMania? And come on, bro. You're better than that. You know it's WrestleMania 13. Like everybody knows. Here, I'm going to break it down for you guys too. I screenshotted earlier, like the poster from WrestleMania 13. So we're going to explain why it was so good. WrestleMania 13 had Psycho Sid versus The Undertaker, had Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold in a grudge match, Chicago Street Fight Ahmed Johnson and Friends versus Farouk, and the Nation of Domination. Everyone knows. Like, if you don't know, wow. Tag team match.
Jim, I don't know. I don't know.
They're all right. Owen Hart and the British Bulldog versus Vader and Mankind. Come on. You had Goldust versus Triple H. You had Rocky. I can't pronounce how they call him there. Maivia, but that's Rock the Dwayne Johnson versus the Sultan. And then just the list goes on and on. So WrestleMania 13, Jeff, you knew better. But whatever, thanks for playing. And then let's go back to him. Oh no. Okay, here we go. Our friend Susan Stott asks, Mac or PC? Okay, this is wild because right now I'm recording on an iPod or iPad.
Yeah, I'm recording.
I have an iPhone.
MacBook Pro. Yeah.
Ashley's on a Mac.
Yeah.
On a MacBook Pro, but my laptop is a PC. I can't really explain why. It's just, I think because MacBooks are too spendy for me, I'm not going to invest that kind of money in that because I don't really use it for much, but the writing.
Yeah.
So that's that. My favorite restaurant is not even a restaurant, Susan. It's on the corner of Coldwater I believe Coldwater and Saginaw. It's called World Class Barbecue. Family operation. They're only there in the summertime. The best brisket sandwich ever created. But that's my favorite spot. And then my chief, Don Schreiber, he asked Back to the Future or Caddyshack. I mean, come on, man. It's Caddyshack. Of course. This is a church podcast, so I should say Back to the Future. But it's Caddyshack.
Why do you like Caddyshack more?
Because Chevy Chase is so funny in everything that he does, and that's it. Like, I don't even care what was going on. It's just that he is hilarious. He's one of my favorite, comedy actors. That's
cool. Look at her. I was a little too young to be able to watch that and have it be appropriate for me. So I've seen it in later years once or twice.
Oh, dude, did you feel like naughty?
Yes.
Did you feel like you were going to get busted?
Yes. However, Back to the Future was always on TV, and we watched that as a family, so that's nostalgic for me. And we just recently watched all those with the kids, and so
the Back to the Future trilogy,
I would pick Back to the Future.
Amazing. So
Isaac's got a little DeLorean.
That's fantastic. Yeah, but it's cool when it's like a trilogy like that, and that was a good trilogy.
It was a really good trilogy.
You know what I mean? They tried to do a Caddyshack 2, and it was wretched. It was just... you can't do that. You know what I mean? Some movies are just one-off.
Yeah.
Don't even try it. But yes, the Back to the Future trilogy and the Raiders of the Lost Ark trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the best film of all time.
Yes. Agreed.
So now we're going to jump in. We're going to hear, these are some more serious questions, but it kind of goes along with the topic of the whole thing with the cereal aisle and that stuff. And this is from Pastors Ian Perry and JD Wiegand. So the first question is from Pastor Ian, and it is, in the face of the worst of humanity, how do you, continue to see the good that is in it? I think for me, that answer has always been that I don't think the world is inherently evil. I think the world is manipulated by evil. Yeah. So I think it's just, for me, everybody's just trying to survive. They're trying to make their way. And for me personally, people who don't know scripture or don't know the Bible, I don't hold them to that standard. But I think the reason I'm able to just see people and love them anyway is because I don't think that, we're fallen by nature.
Sense. No, that makes
you know
sense.
What I mean? But I don't think we're inherently out to be evil. I don't think that, and when that is the case, that's a mental health thing. That's sickness. You know what I mean? But but all the same, I think it's, in my opinion, it's that the world, our fallen world, has been manipulated by evil. And then kind of where we struggle, kind of to piggyback on that, where we struggle is we have this tendency to trust broken men to fix a broken world. Which wild. Pastor Ian's next question is, what is the best way an outsider should communicate with a first responder on the types of things they see? One, never ask what the worst thing is. But if a first responder or a veteran or anybody like that opens up, especially in the church, especially in kind of ministry, just be prepared just to listen. Just hear it. And that's like literally the most important thing, is to just be able to hear it. And it's even okay to appear completely freaked out and shocked by it. Just the rule of thumb is to never ask the question. I've done some, like for chaplain stuff, I've done some training. If you are ministering to somebody or pastoring someone who's been in, like, seen something gnarly or whatever, the appropriate question is not like, what's wrong with you, but more like, what happened? What did you see? And just, it's a hard shell to crack, but if you get somebody from first responder world or veteran community to open up and start talking, you're going to be a minute. So should have a lunch probably. How do I shed off the things that I see and do at work to be the best dad and husband I can be? This is interesting. This is a good question for now. Before moving agencies, before changing companies, I had about a 2-minute commute, right? I also didn't realize the level at which I was brainwashed is strong, but kind of brainwashed to where I was believing that the only thing that I could ever do was be a paramedic, and the only place that I could ever do it was there. And there's all kinds of little micro stressors that happen, not necessarily trauma or like bad calls or whatever, but different kinds of pressure that were starting to happen that I didn't realize. That I was just kind of
slowly.
It just slowly crept in, slowly starts infiltrating. And so before I moved companies, my thing would be that I would just disengage. That I would come home and I wouldn't want to be involved with bedtime. I wouldn't want to be involved in homework. Wouldn't really want to be involved with anybody. So now realizing that, and also it takes me about 20 minutes to get home. So I have all that time to kind of offload mentally how the day went. But now that it's like I'm in a different culture. I'm back in a place where I just love doing the thing and being in the environment and like being in the EMS and first responder culture again. So now it's whatever. It's good. Now I come home and it's just like, that's the oasis. The compound is where I want to be. We have all our things built up and, and it's just like, I want to come home and hang out with KP and just do the stuff and all that. So
that's cool.
Kind of to answer the question, I would say a long commute is key. But if not, just take time. I know guys, like we had Austin on last week, And he was saying that he'll get in the driveway and just sit there for a couple minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Now, Pastor JD, do I ever struggle to come home after work and actively be a dad? Well, I kind of just answered that.
Yeah.
But no. Even when it was like, even at its worst, there's been some, like I've been able to, even if I'm really struggling, just to be, even if I didn't want to be engaged, just to force myself, because that's a very honorable responsibility to be dad. So to like kind of flip the switch and do the thing, I feel better about it now. It's way more comfortable, way less stressful. He asked, how do you learn to get over the stuff that you saw and just couldn't shake? So for me, and as you know, Ashley, I've kind of, with Lighthouse and Grand Blanc campus, what we've done here is kind of circled the wagons. And obviously it's church, everyone's welcome, anybody can come. But my people are all either veterans or first responders or both, aside from Ashley and Nick and the gang. But Ashley and Nick have gone out of their way to step into our culture and understand us the best they can. But that's how I do that. If the things that I just be around people who understand so I can talk about it. Another huge plus to working at MMR is like, we'll go to like a couple weeks ago, for example, one of our medics had a scenario where he transported a kid, I think 13 or 14-year-old kid, out of a structure fire. And so what we did, we knew he went to Hurley, so we went to Hurley immediately to make sure he was squared away, make sure everything was cool, and it's kind of, we've been afforded the space at that agency to always be able to check in with each other and spend the time at the hospital and make sure everybody's awesome. So we have relationship. You know what I mean? We are afforded the time to have relationship with each other.
That's huge.
And that is huge. That's everything. And so like without that, nobody, as far as like veteran community and first responder stuff, nobody survives unless you are afforded the space to talk it out.
And know that you're not sharing that burden alone.
Right. Like we are all sharing all of it together.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I have to speak for JD's question, to speak kind of specifically to how I've been able, we talked about this a little bit last week, is that anytime I'm in the building, like I know from Freedom Center Church, I know the people I know the men that are going to make sure that my wife has everything she needs around the house, and that are going to vet every single dude that comes around my daughters, and that are going to make sure, like I've said this before, that Griffin grows up to be a damn fine American, a God-loving, American man. And then, so with that, it just makes it easy. My phone keeps... my screenshot is, you know what I mean? My thing goes away too quick.
No, that's all right. Part of that question was, so having that support then, that speaks into how you've been able to, quote unquote, get past the stuff that you've seen?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just being around people that understand the stuff that I've seen. Yeah. Or being around people where I can just say it. Like, you guys might not get it, but I can say it.
Yeah, you can say, you can say whatever you want.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's important, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then this is a good question to you. Pastor JD's last question was, how do I think being a first responder has changed the way I think regarding being a dad, being a pastor, and being a Christian? Well, being a Christian is pivotal in like the survival of it. You know what I mean? That's why, like when I started out, that's why I can say that I believe that the world isn't inherently evil, just manipulated by evil.
Yeah.
As a Christian, it's like a huge deal to be given a glimpse of what breaks God's heart and then be thrust into that world and be effective in it.
Yeah.
As far as being a dad, like other than just hoping that my kids want to do the same job, which probably they won't, and maybe Griffin, he expressed interest, but that, you know, like I said, I just love the culture of it. I love the family aspect of it. I love that, like, my kids are welcome at our headquarters and people would be all about it and loving on them and stuff like that. I just, you know, there's a certain thing. I think like same with church culture, right? There's society and culture and then all kinds of little subcultures.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
our first responder kingdom is just a little, you know, it's just a subculture of, it's just a micro of the macro, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's, so it's just, which is why, like, I think it's healthy to engage in other culture and other people and understand their thing. But it's also healthy to, if all your buddies are pastors, that's okay. You know what I mean? You don't have to, like, I don't think you have to creep too far out of your small circle. I think it's healthy to have your small circle and kind of stay within it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of toe the line. I check other people out, see what they're doing, but I'm really most comfortable with people who understand the jokes and understand, you know, what we have going on, and you can talk about that thing. Yep. And for Pastor JD, I would say that it's very similar what we're doing. Pastoring and paramedicing are very similar. You know, it might be on the opposite side of the trauma, but it's very similar. As far as being a pastor goes, it's just, I'm just, you know, it's kind of a hard culture to crack. You know, there's many people that kind of get caught up in the, well, if God's so good, you know, then why this? And kind of, you know, and I'm not, this isn't probably sound good doctrine or anything like that, but for me, I kind of follow, my thought process has always been that, like, the mission, like what I can do for people is to lovingly convey that this world belongs to God. Thus, so does everything in it, and that he will be coming back for it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then, you know, then the free will piece comes in. Like, I don't find myself really pounding, trying to drive the message home, but just sharing this is the information, dude.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing. And you're always welcome to be part of it. And, like, I don't know. I don't really ever beg, if that makes sense. I'm like, oh, please come to my house for child church. I'm just, I guess we're here. We're always here.
Right. Right.
So.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's that. Those were good questions.
Those are really good questions. Well, and just the nature of the industry, you know, I don't know. I mean, if you're the nurse and the staff that works in the oncology department or something, and you're the one always reading all of the MRIs and all the stuff, you're going to be right there in that spot to see a lot of those people's bad days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think just the positioning of it's the nature of it, but it's also kind of what you said earlier, the honor of being able to be positioned in that way and have a say and an influence and all that. I mean, that's right. You know, it reminds me of Jesus telling the 12 disciples, like, pray because the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. And then a few chapters, you know, a few sentences later, he's like, so now go. You know,
right, like,
so they're still here. They're spending all this time praying, God, please send people to go, like, serve people. And, oh, by the way, it's you. You know, I've put you right here to go love people, help them.
Yeah. Well, that's why I really like, and I can't remember it now precisely, the address of it all, but where it's like, here I am, God, send me. Like, who's gonna go?
Yeah.
Like, which one of you is gonna go do the thing? And kind of being of that nature, being like, oh, a mission and it's gnarly. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. That's so
but
good.
I think what's important for us as believers and as just humans is to know your thing, know where you fit.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do, we do the house campus and that stuff, and we do this podcast, and when we serve, and I really like to give stuff to people and all that stuff, but that is like the high end of where I'd be working as far as ministry goes. I don't know that I'm wired to work in the church setting all the time. I know that I can go into stuff that's on fire, and I'm not really worried when shots pop off, and I'm not worried about being exposed to stuff and taking care of people. I can do that's.
Yeah.
That is my story. That was what's when he's weaving me, threading my plan and all that stuff. I'm in the womb. This was what it was going to be. Otherwise, it's like we've said many times before, it's like pushing that shopping cart with the one dang flat wheel. And it's just, I can't imagine, I can't fathom doing anything else. And what's frightening is they got dangerously close before we switched shops to, I don't think I can continue. And I don't know what I would have done, which made it worse. It's the most anxiety I believe that I've ever had. Just what am I going to do if I can't do this?
You probably would have slammed yourself against a wall, mentally and emotionally, probably.
Probably right. And and what's frightening, but when it speaks to us in our flesh, probably what would have happened is, like you said, mentally, emotionally slammed right into a wall and then burnt all this stuff down too. You know what I mean? So if you look at the bigger picture, the bigger mission, which we've talked about recently too, God is really hello, just come through the door. Yeah, dummy, just come through. But, when I finally did, man, it's just amazing. It's just to be able to just be in the thing and do the thing and be like, hey, I want to do this. We're just going to go ahead and get a bunch of gift cards and make a bunch of burritos and show up and give them away. And they're like, well, yeah, for sure. That's super cool. Do the thing. And then they're like, well, we'll send down our social media girl and she'll take pictures and she'll be all about it. And they'll be like, she'll want to come on the show. I'm like, bring her on.
Yeah, let's do it. That's awesome.
But yeah, man. So that's that. That made it super easy on me. So thank you, everybody, for your questions.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And it's funny because kind of what we were talking a bit about last week was, I'm starting to see just in these short few years that there's the repeat questions.
Right.
It's, these folks that are coming in, these folks that are learning how to do, the people that don't know, it's we're starting to get, it's the same questions. How do you handle this? How do you be a dad? How do you see what you see? It's how do you perform and rest up and cope and process? And it's all this stuff. And it's so good because at the end of the day, it's exactly everything that what you had envisioned is walking alongside people doing the thing well and giving them the support and encouragement and resources to be able to say, hey, you can do this well. It's gonna be a lot. You're gonna be demanded. There's gonna be a lot of demand on you, but there are ways to do this well, and you can do it, and you were placed here for a purpose and for a reason. And it's
okay to love it.
And it's okay to like, you know, have the days too where you're like, I need everybody.
Well, like in everything, you know, there's days where you're like, dude, like I listen to, just because of from my growing up years, I listen to some other podcasts. I listen to one of my favorite ones is a snowboard one called The Bomb Hole. And it's just fun because it's just listening to people who love to have the energy for that, you know, for that culture, for that group of people.
Okay.
And then one is called Surf Splendor. And I was listening to this guy talk, the host of the show, and he's a surfer, and they're kind of, you know, laid back, low key. But he was explaining on the show, like how sometimes though he goes through those seasons where he doesn't want to talk to surfers, and he doesn't want, like, it's the whole show. He doesn't want to do, you know, cause it's just, you know, so like, no matter what you're doing, no matter whether it's ministry or a, you know, school teacher, accountant, stay-at-home mom, whatever the case, first responder, soldier, it's okay to love it, and it's also okay to have days where it's just like not really down.
Because we're not robots. We're human beings that have this experience, and then even our memories and our experience of life isn't just this like linear line. It's all of like knowing the past and looking forward to the present, and this continuous kind of like ball of experience that we're mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically going through.
Right.
It's wild, you know. So
yeah, it's so good right now. I'm like it's like refreshed.
Yeah.
And all the things, you know, and this, so
it's good to see, and it's exciting, you know what I mean? And you know, God doesn't waste a thing, you know.
No, yeah. So, well, we can call it here. I really don't have anything else to share, other than if you haven't watched Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus, you're missing out, because it's brilliant. Oh, it's so good, dude.
Is it a series or is it a movie?
It's a series.
Okay.
So it takes place between episode 3 and episode 4, which is A New Hope. So it's like 10 years after episode 3, we catch up with Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. Anyways, whatever. That was really, I don't know why I threw that in there, other than it's Wednesday, so the new episode comes on tonight.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, man. So thank you guys for listening. Pastor Ian, Pastor JD, Chief, Susan Stott, Jeff Babcock. Thank you guys for your questions. I appreciate it. It always makes it easier when I have a plan, although mostly I don't have a plan. So maybe we'll try that. Maybe also an experiment for a season. Well, I'll try to plan out episodes. Probably not.
I mean, I don't care if we do. I don't care if we don't. Like,
but wasn't this nice?
This was very nice. But they were, you know, sometimes. I mean, I know it's a first responder podcast, but I couldn't really speak to a lot of the questions.
Oh well, you know, we can also work
totally
to that.
Fine. It's totally fine.
So.
But I always love hearing the responses, and I don't know, it was really cool last week having Austin on.
Yeah, that was fun too.
And just seeing that exchange and that stuff going on. So, no, I think these questions are really, really good. So I love the questions, and I always love hearing what other people have to, like, they want to know and what they think. So that I think we should continue. But we don't always need to have a plan.
No, we don't.
I like winging it too.
You know, I'm not going to always have a plan, dude. I don't work that way.
Same.
Well, all right. So that's it. So thank you, Freedom Center Church and Kingdom Builders, for your continued support. Thank you to our listeners. Start checking us out on the socials. Have more time, more mental space to kind of be more diligent on there. Got some fun things coming up this summer. So
that's good.
keep checking us out, and we'll see you next week.